The vast Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the heavy obsidian doors swung open. Admiral Elena Reyes strode forward, her boots echoing across the polished floor of iridescent stone. Behind her followed 3 other humans, each wearing the same determined expression. 2,000 alien representatives from across the Milky Way watched from tiered seating that rose like a coliseum around the central speaking platform. "The human wishes to address the Council," announced High Arbiter Vexilor, his translucent tentacles rippling with bioluminescent patterns of irritation, an unprecedented request given their provisional status. Elena stopped at the exact center of the chamber, not bothering to bow as protocol demanded. The 4 humans stood under the intense scrutiny of the galaxy's most powerful beings. Insectoids, gelatinous entities, crystalline hive minds, and dozens of other life forms beyond human imagination. The Council had ruled for 15,000 years, determining which species lived and which were deemed disruptive to galactic harmony. "We understand you've reached a decision regarding Earth's petition for full membership," Elena said, her voice calm but projecting throughout the massive chamber. "Indeed," replied Vexilor, his voice dripping with condescension. "The Council has determined that humanity is not yet evolved enough for full participation. Your species' aggressive tendencies, territorial expansion, and biological inefficiencies make you unsuitable partners in our galactic community. You will remain quarantined to your solar system for another 500 years of observation." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Several representatives made gestures of contempt at their species reserved for lesser beings. Elena nodded slowly, seemingly accepting the verdict. Then she reached into her pocket and withdrew a small metallic cube. "In that case, I am authorized by the United Earth government to deliver our response." She placed the cube on the floor. It projected a holographic image of Earth's Parliament in emergency session. "The Galactic Council has denied humanity's rightful place among the stars," announced Earth's Prime Minister from the hologram. "They have restricted our growth, sabotaged our colonies, and covertly sterilized human settlements on Mars and Europa. Therefore, as of this moment, we formally declare war on the Galactic Council and all member species who stand against us." Chaos erupted in the chamber. Some representatives laughed at the absurdity. A single primitive planet declaring war on 15,000 years of unified galactic power. Vexilor's bioluminescence flashed patterns of amusement. "You cannot be serious. Your species hasn't even mastered faster than light travel." Elena smiled then, a cold expression that silenced the chamber. "Hasn't mastered it? We've simply hidden our capabilities. Let me demonstrate." She pressed a button on her wrist communicator. Simultaneously across the chamber, 500 holographic displays activated, showing real-time footage of Earth ships appearing from nowhere in orbit around every major Council homeworld. "Those are 500 human vessels," Elena explained calmly, "each capable of rendering a planet uninhabitable in under an hour. We've had this technology for decades, but chose to appear weak while we studied your defenses." The Council representatives watched in horror as human ships materialized throughout Council space, ships that had somehow bypassed the most sophisticated detection systems in the galaxy. "How is this possible?" demanded a crystalline entity, its facets pulsing with alarm. "Because you underestimated us," replied Elena. "Humans don't just adapt to survive. We transform disadvantage into strength. You thought our shorter lifespans were a weakness. In reality, they forced us to innovate faster than any species in galactic history." She turned slowly, making eye contact with representatives from various sectors. "We don't want war. We want equality. Rescind your quarantine, grant us full membership, and our ships will withdraw immediately. You have 24 hours to decide." As Elena and her team turned to leave, Vexilor called out, his voice no longer condescending but uncertain. "Wait. What assurance do we have that you won't attack regardless?" Elena paused at the doorway. "Unlike the Council, humans keep their word. But make no mistake. If you force this war, you will learn why isolation was the kindest thing you could have done for yourselves. It protected you from us." The doors closed behind the humans, leaving the most powerful governing body in the galaxy, facing the first existential crisis of its 15,000-year reign. The emergency session that followed lasted through the night. Council members argued bitterly, with many blaming Intelligence Director Maldor for his failure to detect human technological advancement. "Impossible," the avian being shrieked, feathers bristling with indignation. "My spy network has observers embedded throughout their system. They're still using chemical rockets for most transportation." "Evidently not," growled Representative Gore, a massive ursine creature whose species controlled the Council's military forces. "The question now is whether they're bluffing." High Arbiter Vexler gestured toward the tactical displays still showing human warships in position around key worlds. "Does this look like a bluff to you? They have somehow developed stealth technology beyond anything we possess." "If they've hidden this," whispered an elder representative of the ancient Kalari, "what else might they be concealing?" The question hung in the air, chilling even the most confident council members. In a secure room 16 levels below the council chamber, Elena met with her team. Commander Jackson, Earth's head of military intelligence, reviewed the data streaming from their deployed vessels. "The Gambit is working," he reported. "Their communications are in chaos. Half their fleet is scrambling to defend homeworlds, the other half is heading toward Earth. They don't know which threat to prioritize." "And our actual capabilities?" Elena asked quietly. Jackson's expression grew serious. "The stealth tech works perfectly. They still don't realize our ships are mostly holographic projections. The few real vessels we have couldn't actually destroy their worlds." Dr. Rivera, Earth's leading xenopsychologist, smiled thinly. "They don't need to know that. The Council species share one psychological trait. They all respect strength above all else. If they believe we have power, we have power." Elena nodded, staring at the tactical display. "Remember, we only need to maintain the illusion for 24 hours. After that, either they accept our terms or we hope they never discover the truth," finished Lieutenant Patel, the final member of the team. "What if they call our bluff? Then humanity will face the greatest challenge in its history," Elena replied grimly. "But we've never backed down from a fight, and we won't start now. The Council has suppressed our development for too long, steering our scientists away from key breakthroughs, infiltrating our governments to prevent unified action. Today that ends." A soft chime from her communicator interrupted the conversation. The display showed an incoming transmission from the council chamber. "That was fast," muttered Jackson. "Not even 2 hours." Elena straightened her uniform and activated the holographic receiver. Vexler's image appeared, his tentacles now displaying patterns indicating severe stress. "Admiral Reyes," he began, his tone markedly more respectful, "the Council requests an immediate extension of your deadline and the commencement of negotiations." Elena kept her expression neutral despite the surge of triumph she felt. "The United Earth government is willing to negotiate. However, our ships will remain in position until an agreement is reached." "Understood," Vexler replied. "We invite you to return to the council chamber at your earliest convenience to discuss terms." The transmission ended, and for the first time, Elena allowed herself to smile. "It worked," breathed Rivera. "They actually believe we could destroy them." "In war," Elena replied, gathering her notes for the coming negotiation, "perception often matters more than reality. The Council has ruled through fear for 15 millennia. Today, they learn what it means to be afraid." As the humans prepared to return to the council chamber, alerts sounded throughout the galaxy. The message was the same on every world, in every language. Humanity had declared war, and the Galactic Council, for the first time in its ancient history, was learning fear. 3 days after humanity's shocking declaration, the Galactic Council's emergency response fleet converged on Earth. 5,000 warships, the largest armada assembled in 7,000 years, dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Their hulls bristled with planet-killer weapons capable of reducing worlds to asteroid fields. On the command deck of the flagship Eternal Dominance, Supreme Commander Krathal studied the tactical display. The massive arthropoid's compound eyes reflected countless data streams as his subordinates awaited orders. "The human vessels have vanished from our homeworlds," reported his second-in-command, "but our intelligence indicates their main fleet is hiding within their asteroid belt." Krathal clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Their declaration was a bluff. They showed capability beyond their known technology, but not the numbers to wage actual war. "We will make an example of them." The Armada approached Earth's orbit, encountering no resistance. Strangely, no communications came from the planet below, no pleas for mercy, no desperate negotiations. They appear to be waiting, observed the tactical officer, a being of living vapor contained within an environmental suit. Commence orbital bombardment of their military installations, ordered Krathel. Minimum civilian casualties. We are not barbarians. The flagship's weapons officer activated targeting systems but frowned at the readings. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from their oceans. Before Krathel could respond, the ocean surfaces around Earth began to churn. Massive structures rose from beneath the waves, thousands of platforms revealing missile silos that had been hidden under Earth's oceans for decades. Impossible, Krathel hissed. Our surveillance would have detected underwater bases of that magnitude. The weapons officer's voice trembled. The humans have somehow masked their energy signatures using the planet's magnetic field and oceanic mineral concentrations. They've been building this defense network for generations. On the main view screen, Admiral Elena Reyes appeared, now wearing full military regalia. Commander Krathel, I see the Council has made its decision. Before you fire, you should know that we've spent 50 years studying your shielding technology. Every missile in our defense network is specifically calibrated to bypass your fleet's defenses. Krathel's exoskeleton vibrated with rage. You cannot possibly have such technology. Your species was using combustion engines when we first observed you. Elena's expression remained neutral. That's what we wanted you to think. The truth is, we detected your observation satellites a century ago and have been feeding you carefully crafted misinformation ever since. Everything you think you know about human capability is wrong. On cue, 10 unmarked vessels emerged from behind Earth's moon, sleek ships unlike any in the human military catalog. Those ships, Elena continued, are piloted by representatives from 73 species that your council deemed unworthy over the millennia. Species you thought you had contained or controlled. We found them, united them, and built an alliance while your council was busy, maintaining its illusion of supremacy. Krathel stared in disbelief as the tactical display confirmed signatures from species, thought long subjugated or extinct. This isn't just Earth. Declaring war, Elena explained. This is the formation of the alternative Galactic Alliance. Half your fleet's captains have already secretly pledged allegiance to our cause. As if on cue, thousands of energy signatures across the Council fleet changed color on Krathel's tactical display, indicating compromised command systems. Your options, Elena continued, are total surrender of your fleet or immediate withdrawal. Either way, the Council's monopoly on galactic governance ends today. Krathel's second-in-command leaned forward. Commander, we're detecting command overrides on 40% of our vessels. Weapons systems are being locked out. The mighty commander of the greatest fleet ever assembled found himself paralyzed by an emotion he had never experienced in 300 years of military service. Fear. Fall back, he ordered, his voice barely audible. Full retreat to Council space. As the Armada began its humiliating withdrawal, Krathel received one final communication from Admiral Reyes. We'll be arriving at the Council headquarters within the week to negotiate new terms. Prepare accordingly. The message was clear, the deception was complete, and the balance of power had irreversibly shifted. Back on Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Elena switched off the communication system and turned to face the gathered military and political leaders of humanity. They bought it, she announced, allowing herself a moment of visible relief. The fleet is retreating. General Ramirez, head of Earth's unified defense forces, shook his head in amazement. I can't believe that worked. Those missile platforms were mostly empty shells with minimal offensive capability. And the override codes? Asked President Nguyen, Earth's political leader. Commander Ortiz, head of cyber warfare operations, grinned. We only managed to hack about 15% of their fleet, not 40. But perception is reality in warfare. Once Krathel believed his command structure was compromised, retreat became the only logical option. Elena studied the holographic display showing the Council fleet dispersing. The alliance with the outcast species was our masterstroke. The Council never imagined we'd discover their existence, let alone form common cause with them. Ambassador Torres, who had spent the last decade secretly building relationships with species relegated to the galactic margins, nodded in agreement. The Clavari especially were crucial. Their stealth technology combined with our quantum computing created capabilities the Council couldn't comprehend. President Nguyen stood, facing the assembled leadership. Let's not celebrate prematurely. We've won the opening move, but the game is far from over. The Council still possesses overwhelming military superiority if they choose to use it. True, Elena acknowledged, but they won't. The Council maintains power through perception, the perception of invincibility, of omniscience, of inevitable dominance. We've shattered that perception. Now every species in the galaxy is questioning their authority. And our next move? Asked General Ramirez. We follow through exactly as promised, Elena replied. We travel to Council headquarters with representatives from our alliance species. We negotiate as equals, not supplicants. And if they refuse? President Nguyen pressed. Elena's expression hardened. Then we reveal the final deception. That we've already placed quantum destabilization devices at the core of every Council homeworld. Devices that can't be detected by their technology and could reduce their planets to subatomic particles. A silence fell over the command center. Do we actually have that capability? General Ramirez finally asked. No, Elena admitted, but they don't know that. And after today, they'll believe anything we claim. Fear is the ultimate weapon, and we've turned theirs against them. 3 days later, a single human vessel approached the Council's headquarters, a massive space station orbiting a neutron star at the galaxy's core. The ship was small by Council standards, but its design baffled their sensors. Its hull seemed to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. In the Council's emergency command center, Vexler and the other senior representatives watched the approaching vessel with trepidation. Our analysts still can't determine its weapons capability, reported the defense minister, a gelatinous entity whose translucent form pulsed with anxiety. Does it matter? Replied Vexler bitterly. We've seen what they can do. They bypassed our most sophisticated detection systems, compromised our fleet command codes, and built an alliance right under our sensory appendages. The question remains, interjected Councillor Drav, a crystalline being whose species had helped found the Council millennia ago. How did they achieve this level of technology without our knowledge? Our observers monitored their development closely. An uncomfortable silence followed. Perhaps, suggested an elder representative from a gaseous species, we should consider the possibility that they are not what they appear to be. Explain, demanded Vexler. What if humans aren't actually a newly emergent species? What if they're much older than we thought, hiding their true nature? Or what if they've been aided by something we've never encountered? The implication hung heavy in the chamber, that perhaps humans had discovered something beyond even the Council's understanding. Whatever the truth, Vexler concluded, we must negotiate carefully. Our 15,000 years of dominance may depend on it. As the human ship docked at the station, Elena Reyes prepared to lead her delegation. Behind her stood representatives from 12 formerly marginalized species, living proof that the Council's authority was no longer absolute. Remember, she told them, we are here as equals, not as petitioners. Whatever happens next will reshape galactic civilization for millennia to come. The delegation stepped toward the airlock, ready to enter the Council headquarters not as supplicants, but as conquerors who had achieved victory without firing a single shot. The greatest deception in galactic history was about to enter its final phase. The Galactic Archives, repository of 15 millennia of knowledge, occupied an entire artificial moon orbiting the Council capital world. Physically and digitally isolated from all networks, it was considered impenetrable. Yet somehow, Liam Donovan was inside. The human archaeologist moved silently through crystalline shelves containing the collective wisdom of thousands of civilizations. His presence here was impossible. No non-Council species had ever accessed these halls. The security system should have detected him instantly, but they didn't. I've reached the historical revision section, Liam whispered into his subdermal communicator, proceeding to the target coordinates. Good, responded Dr. Talia Vega, Liam's handler operating from a cloaked vessel 16 light-years away. Remember, you have 17 minutes before the dimensional shift wears off. Liam's infiltration suit, incorporating phase-shifting technology, reverse-engineered from artifacts discovered beneath Antarctica, allowed him to exist slightly out of sync with normal spacetime. To the archive sensors, he was merely a quantum fluctuation, indistinguishable from background radiation. He navigated to a section marked with Council High script, symbols that flickered and changed meaning depending on who observed them. Thanks to a neural implant, Liam could interpret them perfectly. Another technological breakthrough the Council believed humans incapable of achieving. "I've found it," he announced, stopping before a data crystal the size of his palm, glowing with swirling internal lights. "The Genesis Protocol. Extracted exactly as planned," Talia instructed. "Any deviation will trigger quantum entanglement alarms." With practiced precision, Liam inserted a specialized device against the crystal's housing. Rather than removing the actual crystal, it created a perfect quantum duplicate, leaving the original undisturbed while copying every byte of data. The crystal contained the Council's most guarded secret, proof that they had systematically sabotaged the technological development of hundreds of promising species throughout history, Earth included. More damning, it detailed how the founding Council species had stolen most of their advanced technology from an even older civilization they had helped exterminate. "Download complete," Liam confirmed. Beginning exfiltration. As he turned to leave, the lights in the archive suddenly dimmed. A voice echoed through the cavernous space, a voice speaking perfect English. "An impressive feat, Mr. Donovan. Phase-shifting technology at your developmental stage is quite remarkable." Standing at the end of the aisle was Archivator Prime Zel Thoban, chief custodian of the Galactic Archives. The ancient being's form shifted constantly between different states of matter, a living manifestation of quantum uncertainty. "You're not supposed to be able to see me," Liam said, instinctively reaching for his sidearm. "I exist simultaneously in 12 dimensions," Thoban replied. "Your phase shifting merely places you in one I already occupy. I've been watching your progress with great interest." Talia's voice crackled in Liam's ear. "Temporal displacement detected. Get out now." Liam began backing away. "If you've been watching, why didn't you stop me?" The Archivator's form rippled with what might have been amusement. "Because some of us within the Council have waited millennia for a species like yours, one with both the ingenuity and moral fortitude to challenge the existing order." Thoban glided closer. "The Genesis Protocol you've stolen will reveal that the Council has been artificially constraining technological development across the galaxy for eons. Species like yours were kept primitive not because you were unworthy, but because you were too worthy, too likely to surpass your so-called betters. You're helping us," Liam realized. "Why?" The Council has grown stagnant. Their fear of change has held back galactic civilization for too long. Humanity's aggression terrifies them, but not because you are violent, because you refuse to accept artificial limitations. Alarms began blaring throughout the archive. "Your phase shifting is destabilizing," Thoban warned. "I cannot help you escape. But know this. When you present the Genesis Protocol to the galaxy, dozens of Council members will secretly support your alliance. The revolution you've begun is long overdue." Liam activated his emergency extraction beacon as security forces converged on the archive. His form began to shimmer as the extraction field locked onto his coordinates. "Tell Admiral Reyes," Thoban called out as Liam began to dematerialize, "that Operation Prometheus has already succeeded beyond your hopes. The Council is fracturing from within." As Liam vanished completely, transported safely back to the human vessel, Archivator Thoban turned to face the arriving security forces. For the first time in 7,000 years of service, the ancient being felt something long forgotten: hope. Aboard the human stealth vessel Shadow Dancer, Liam materialized on the extraction platform, his infiltration suit smoking from energy discharge. Medical technicians rushed forward as he collapsed to his knees. "Did you get it?" asked Captain Morgan, the vessel's commander, as the medical team stabilized Liam's condition. Liam nodded weakly, handing over the quantum duplication device. "Every byte. But something unexpected happened. The Archivator Prime saw me. He was waiting for me." "A trap?" Morgan asked, immediately signaling battle stations. "No," Liam replied. "An ally. He wanted us to take the data. Said there are others like him in the Council, waiting for change." Dr. Vega approached, scanning the device with specialized equipment. "The data appears intact. Beginning decryption now." She connected the device to the ship's secure network. "If what our intelligence suggests is true, this crystal contains the Council's entire hidden history. including proof of their systematic suppression of technological development across thousands of worlds. The perfect weapon, Morgan observed. Not a bomb or a virus, but the truth. Liam struggled to his feet despite the medical team's protests. There's more. The archivator mentioned something called Operation Prometheus, said it was already succeeding beyond our hopes. Captain Morgan and Dr. Vega exchanged confused glances. That's not our operation code, Morgan said. We're running Operation Oracle, I think, Liam suggested. He was referring to something bigger, something we're part of without knowing it. Before they could discuss further, the ship's communication system activated. Admiral Elena Reyes appeared on the main screen, her expression tense but controlled. Report, she ordered without preamble. Mission successful, Admiral, Morgan responded. We've acquired the Genesis protocol data. Currently beginning decryption. Mr. Donovan made it out safely, though not without complications. Liam stepped forward. The Archivator Prime saw through my phase shifting, but instead of stopping me, he helped. He called what we're doing Operation Prometheus and claimed the Council is fracturing from within. Elena's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in her eyes. Transmit the data immediately through quantum channels, then proceed to rendezvous coordinates. We're accelerating our timeline. Admiral, Morgan asked, what is Operation Prometheus? Elena was silent for a moment. Something very few people know about. A contingency plan developed when we first discovered the Council was actively suppressing Earth's development. The plan assumed we might find allies among the Council itself. It seems that assumption was correct. So what's our next move? Asked Liam. We're going to broadcast the contents of the Genesis Protocol to every inhabited world in Council space, Elena replied. But first, we need to ensure our allies within the Council are protected. The revolution that follows won't be bloodless. Revolution? Dr. Vega asked. I thought we were negotiating for equal membership. Elena's expression hardened. That was never the end goal, Doctor. The Council's entire structure is built on lies and suppression. It needs to be dismantled completely, not reformed. The Genesis Protocol will prove that beyond doubt. The transmission ended, leaving the crew of the Shadow Dancer in stunned silence. Did we just help start a galactic revolution? Liam asked no one in particular. It seems, Captain Morgan replied grimly. That was always the plan. As the stealth vessel changed course for the rendezvous point, the quantum duplication device continued its work, extracting data that would soon reshape the politics of an entire galaxy. Meanwhile, in the Council's emergency command center, Archivator Prime Thoban stood before the highest-ranking Council members, his multidimensional form unusually still. You allowed the human to escape with our most guarded secrets, accused High Arbiter Vexilor, his tentacles flashing patterns of outrage. This is treason of the highest order. No, Arbiter, Thoban replied calmly. This is correction, a long-overdue reckoning with truth. Seize him, ordered Krathel, who had been summoned from the fleet to handle this crisis. The security forces hesitated, uncertain how to apprehend a being that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Before you attempt something beyond your capabilities, Thoban said, addressing the entire Council, you should know that I am not alone. Many among you have recognized the Council's corruption, the way we've strangled progress to maintain our dominance. The humans have simply provided the catalyst for change we've awaited for millennia. What are you talking about? Demanded Vexler. The Genesis Protocol wasn't just a historical record, Thoban explained. It was a test, a way to identify which species might one day challenge our tyranny. Humanity passed that test, and the emergency session of the Galactic Council stretched into its fourth day. Representatives from all member species filled the Grand Convocation Hall on Nexus Prime, the ancient space station that had served as the Council's headquarters since its founding. High Arbiter Vexler, his tentacles now pale with exhaustion, addressed the assembled delegates. The Human Alliance has presented us with an ultimatum. They demand full recognition of their alternative galactic alliance and equal representation in all Council matters. If we refuse, they threaten to broadcast the contents of the Genesis Protocol to every inhabited world in Council space. The chamber erupted in shouting, threatening gestures and pheromonal displays of outrage. Order, Vexler demanded, his bioluminescence flashing urgently. We must decide how to respond. From the shadows at the edge of the hall stepped Dr. Marcus Reed, Earth's newly appointed diplomatic representative. The humans had insisted on his presence despite vehement objections from Council security. With respect, Arbiter, Marcus said, his voice carrying easily through the massive chamber. You misunderstand our position. This is not an ultimatum. It's an invitation to transformation. He activated a holographic display showing the Genesis protocol. The stolen data crystal's contents now fully decrypted and analyzed. For millennia, your council has cultivated a myth of inevitability, that your rule represents the natural order of the cosmos. The Genesis protocol exposes this as a lie. Your founding members achieved dominance through sabotage, suppression, and occasionally, genocide. Images flashed across the display, civilizations systematically undermined, promising species having their development artificially stunted, planetary disasters engineered to keep populations dependent on Council assistance. We could use this information to destroy you, Marcus continued. A galaxy-wide broadcast would trigger revolutions on thousands of worlds. But humanity has learned something in our brief existence that your Council, in 15,000 years, never did. True power comes not from control, but cooperation. He gestured, and the holographic display shifted to show a new model of galactic governance, one with distributed authority, checks and balances, and protection for developing civilizations. We propose a galactic federation to replace the Council, equal representation for all spacefaring species, technological sharing rather than suppression, diversity celebrated rather than controlled. From the highest tier of the chamber, a massive silicon-based entity named Krex, representative of the ancient monolith collective, raised its crystalline appendage. You speak of cooperation while threatening us with extinction, Krex rumbled. Why should we believe humans would share power when you've proven so adept at deception? Marcus nodded respectfully. A fair question. To demonstrate our sincerity, we offer this. He placed another data crystal on the chamber floor. It projected the schematics for humanity's most closely guarded technological breakthrough, true dimensional phase shifting. This technology alone would give us military superiority for centuries. We offer it freely, along with 50 other breakthrough technologies we've developed in secret. Not as a bribe, but as a down payment on trust. The chamber fell silent as representatives studied the schematics, technology that violated what many believed to be fundamental laws of physics. How? Whispered Vexler, his scientific curiosity overcoming his political caution. How did your species develop this when our combined civilizations could not? Because you stopped looking, Marcus replied simply. Your council achieved dominance, then prioritized stability over discovery. Humans never stop questioning, never stop reaching. It's our greatest strength and our greatest vulnerability. He walked slowly around the chamber, making eye contact with representatives from dozens of species. The real revelation isn't that we could destroy you. It's that we're choosing not to. Humanity has seen enough of its own history to know that empires built on fear ultimately collapse. We're offering something revolutionary, a galactic society built on genuine equality. From the Council's inner circle, Archivator Prime Thoban rose, his multi-dimensional form shimmering with intensity. I have witnessed 13,000 years of Council history, the ancient being announced. I have cataloged the rise and engineered fall of countless civilizations. The humans speak truth. Our current path leads to stagnation and eventual collapse. I formally move that we consider their proposal. Vexler's tentacles rippled with surprise. Archivator! You cannot possibly— I not only can, I must, Thoban interrupted. As keeper of our true history, I am bound by oath to preserve galactic civilization. Continuation of our current course violates that oath. The chamber descended into intense debate. Species that had been rivals for millennia found themselves reluctantly aligned. Others that had always supported Council authority now questioned everything. As the arguments raged, Marcus returned to the shadows where Admiral Elena Reyes waited. They're terrified, he whispered. Not just of our technology, but of change itself. Elena nodded. Fear can be paralyzing or transformative. The question is which path they'll choose. And if they choose wrong, Marcus asked, then they'll learn there are consequences to underestimating humanity, Elena replied, watching the Council's future hang in the balance. But I'm betting they're smart enough to evolve. After hours of chaotic debate, a vote was called. The chamber fell silent as each representative's decision was recorded in the ancient voting matrix, a system designed to prevent coercion by making each vote anonymous even to the voter's own delegation. The final votes were tallied. A holographic display at the center of the chamber showed the result. By the narrowest margin in council history, 50.2% to 49.8%, the proposal to transform the council into a federation had passed. Murmurs of shock rippled through the chamber. Several representatives of the founding species stormed out in protest. Others sat in stunned silence. High Arbiter Vexilor stared at the results for a long moment before speaking. The council has decided. We will begin the transition to a federation structure immediately. His voice carried no emotion, as if he were still processing the reality of what had just occurred. Archivator Thoban moved to the chamber center. This is not an ending, but a beginning. For too long we have hidden behind illusions of superiority. Today we step into the light of truth. From the opposite side of the chamber, Supreme Commander Krathel rose abruptly.
This is madness!
We're surrendering 15,000 years of order to primitives who deceived us. I will not stand for this betrayal. The massive arthropoid gestured to his military officers. The fleet remains loyal to the True Council. We will not recognize this in Federation. Before anyone could respond, Krathel and his officers stormed out of the chamber, security forces parting nervously before them. And so it begins, Thoban observed quietly. Change never comes without resistance. Marcus turned to Elena, concern etched on his face. We may have just started a civil war. We expected this, Elena reminded him. The Galactic Fleet was always going to be the greatest obstacle to peaceful transition. What happens now? Marcus asked. The answer came from an unexpected source. A representative from the Clavari, one of the species that had secretly allied with humanity, approached them. Commander Krathel is already ordering fleet movements, the insectoid being informed them, its antennae twitching nervously. He's recalling all battle groups to key strategic positions. He intends to stage a military coup. Then we activate Contingency Protocol Omega, Elena decided, opening a secure channel to the human fleet. All units, this is Admiral Reyes, execute Omega Protocol. Authorization Prometheus Actual. Marcus looked at her questioningly. We suspected this might happen, Elena explained. For the past week, while negotiations were ongoing, we've been installing quantum transponders on every major council warship. If Krathel attempts to use the fleet against the newly formed Federation, we can remotely disable their primary weapons and propulsion systems. You mean we can paralyze the entire galactic fleet? Marcus asked, amazed. Not permanently, Elena clarified. Just long enough to replace the command structure with officers loyal to the Federation. It's the difference between a short-term crisis and a galactic civil war that could last decades. Across the chamber, Vexilor approached them, his tentacles now displaying patterns indicating resignation mixed with curiosity. You anticipated everything, he said, not as an accusation but with a hint of admiration. Even Krathel's rebellion. Understanding behavior patterns is essential to strategic planning, Elena replied. Your council valued stability above all else. When faced with dramatic change, it was inevitable that the military would resist most strongly. And now? Vexler asked. Now we build something better together, Marcus answered. The Federation won't be perfect, but it will be fair. Every species will have a voice proportional to their population, not their age or technological level. Many will resist, Vexilor warned. Yes, Elena acknowledged. Change is never easy, but it's necessary. Throughout the chamber, representatives were already forming new alliances, centuries-old rivalries giving way to pragmatic cooperation in the face of this new reality. Species that had never been permitted to address the council directly were now engaged in eager conversation with former council elites. In a secure communicati. 1 year after humanity's declaration of war, the newly formed Galactic Federation convened its inaugural assembly. The massive chamber, built in orbit around a neutron star at the galaxy's core, housed representatives from over 3,000 species. Many had been subjugated under the old council. Others had been deemed unworthy of interstellar participation. All now held equal voting rights. At the chamber's center stood the 7 pillars, physical embodiments of the Federation's founding principles: liberty, knowledge, cooperation, innovation, diversity, justice, and sustainability. Admiral Elena Reyes, now serving as Earth's Federation representative, took her place at the diplomatic platform alongside representatives from the former council races. The transformation had not been bloodless. Several hardline council species had attempted military action rather than accept change. Their swift defeat by the human-led alliance had reinforced the new reality. This assembly marks not an ending, but a beginning, announced moderator Thoban, the former archivator, who now served as the Federation's first elected leader. For too long, our galaxy was governed by fear. Fear of difference, fear of change, fear of potential. Today we embrace a new paradigm. Thoban's multi-dimensional form rippled with emotion as he continued. As my final act before stepping down as transitional moderator, I wish to formally recognize the species that catalyzed this transformation. Without their courage and vision, we would remain trapped in our cycle of suppression and stagnation. The chamber's central holographic display activated, showing Earth rotating serenely against the backdrop of space. Humanity, Thoban declared, demonstrated that true strength lies not in dominance, but in the courage to risk everything for a better future. Their willingness to declare war against overwhelming odds, not to conquer, but to create equality, represents the noblest tradition of sentient life. Elena rose to address the assembly, her expression solemn. We did not seek this role. When we discovered how the Council had manipulated Earth's development for centuries, seeding conflicts, undermining scientific breakthroughs, even engineering plagues to keep us vulnerable, our first instinct was vengeance. She paused, looking across the vast array of life forms that now constituted galactic society. But our greatest human philosophers have always taught that the truest victory comes not from defeating an enemy, but from transforming them into an ally. From the diplomatic platform, former High Arbiter Vexilor rose. His once vibrant tentacles now displayed subdued patterns of humility. I served the Council for 700 years, Vexilor admitted. I believe sincerely that our control was necessary, that without our guidance chaos would reign. The humans proved me wrong not through weapons but wisdom. He turned to Elena. I once called your species primitive. I now recognize that we were the primitives, so afraid of losing power that we sacrificed progress. The assembly erupted in appreciation, representatives from formerly oppressed species particularly vocal in their support. When the chamber quieted, Elena activated a secure channel on her communication device. Project Prometheus Final Phase, she authorized. Throughout the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, automated systems activated simultaneously. The assembly's main display showed feeds from hundreds of planets where advanced technological packages were being delivered to developing civilizations, species the old council would have suppressed or manipulated. The Federation begins not with words but actions, Elena explained. Every developing civilization in our galaxy now receives medical technology to eliminate their most devastating diseases, clean energy systems to end resource conflicts, and educational databases to accelerate their natural development. The era of artificial constraints is over. From the highest tier of the chamber, Krathol, the former Supreme Commander whose fleet had been humiliated in Earth's orbit, watched with complex emotions. His military career had ended in disgrace, but he had found unexpected purpose as the Federation's security coordinator. The humans could have destroyed us, he whispered to his aide. Instead, they forced us to become better. I'm still not certain whether to hate them or thank them. His aide, a young officer from a species that had been denied council membership for millennia, replied simply. Perhaps both responses are appropriate. As the assembly continued with the business of establishing new interstellar protocols, Elena slipped away to a private observation deck. Dr. Marcus Reed and Liam Donovan waited there, watching the neutron star's hypnotic pulsations. It worked, Liam said, still sounding surprised. The greatest intelligence operation in human history actually worked. Marcus smiled. Operation Prometheus, stealing fire from the gods to benefit all humanity. Fitting name. Elena gazed out at the star, its immense energy now being harnessed to power the most sophisticated computational network ever created. A truly democratic system where all member species could participate equally in governance. We never wanted war, she said quietly. What we wanted was recognition, acknowledgement that humanity deserves its place among the stars. And now? Marcus asked. Elena turned from the window, her expression resolute. Now we ensure this Federation becomes everything the Council should have been. Because if there's one thing humans truly excel at, it's learning from history, both our own and now, the galaxies. As they rejoined the assembly, representatives from 1,000 worlds rose in respect. Former enemies and new allies united in recognition that the species that had dared to declare war had ultimately delivered peace. The Galactic Council had indeed learned fear, not fear of human weapons, but fear of stagnation, of squandered potential, of futures unrealized, and in conquering that fear, they had found transformation instead of destruction. Humanity had declared war not to end civilization, but to save it. 6 months later, Elena stood on the bridge of Earth's new flagship, Prometheus Unbound. The vessel represented a fusion of technologies from dozens of species, a testament to the collaborative spirit of the Federation. Admiral, called the communications officer, we're receiving a priority transmission from Federation headquarters. The main view screen activated, showing Moderator Vexler, the former High Arbiter who had, in a surprising turn of events, been elected to succeed Thoban. Admiral Reyes, he greeted her, his tentacles displaying patterns of urgency. The long-range sensor network has detected something approaching from intergalactic space. Multiple objects moving at speeds we've never recorded before. Elena's expression remained calm, but her mind raced. First contact with an extragalactic civilization? That is our leading theory, Vexler confirmed. Given your species' remarkable diplomatic success with the Federation transition, the Assembly has voted to appoint you as first contact envoy. Elena nodded, feeling the weight of this new responsibility. Estimated time until they reach our galaxy's edge? Approximately 3 months, Vexler replied. We've already dispatched science vessels to establish observation posts along their projected route. And if they're hostile? Elena asked the question everyone was thinking. Vexler's bioluminescence flashed a pattern that would have been unthinkable a year ago, confidence mixed with respect. Then we face them together, as a united federation. The days when species stood alone against external threats are over. After the transmission ended, Dr. Talia Vega approached Elena. It's fitting, isn't it? Your species forces the galaxy to evolve, and immediately afterward, we face a new challenge that would have been insurmountable under the old system. Almost as if the universe has a sense of timing, Elena agreed. Or as if someone knew they were coming, suggested Liam Donovan, who had recently been appointed Federation Archaeology Director. The Genesis Protocol contained fragmentary references to an extragalactic arrival, predicted to occur within this century. I always wondered if that was part of Thoban's urgency. Elena considered this. So the Council might have been preparing for this all along in their own misguided way. Possibly, Liam conceded, though their approach, maintaining strict control rather than fostering innovation, would have left the galaxy far less prepared than we are now. Elena turned to her crew, composed of members from 20 different species. Set course for the Federation's deep space monitoring station at the galaxy's edge. Maximum sustainable speed. As the Prometheus Unbound accelerated to velocities impossible a year earlier, Elena reflected on the irony of their situation. Humanity had declared war on the most powerful institution in the galaxy, not out of hatred or ambition, but because the times demanded change. The Council had learned fear, the productive fear that forces growth and adaptation. And now the entire galaxy would benefit from that lesson as they faced whatever came next. Message from Federation headquarters, announced the communications officer. All member worlds are being notified of the approaching contact situation. Diplomatic and scientific teams are assembling to join us at the intercept point. Elena nodded, watching as the galactic map displayed thousands of vessels converging from across the Federation. A united response to an unknown situation. This is what we fought for, she said quietly. Not human dominance, but galactic unity. Not fear as a tool of control, but as a catalyst for preparation. The ship's executive officer, a member of Krathal's species who had once fought against humans, turned to Elena. The old council would